What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Van Chats. I'm sitting here with the new Everesting world record holder, Sean Gardner, out of Virginia, 26 years old. And yeah, Sean, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Legs are starting to recover a little bit. Arms aren't as much so.
Yeah, how much time does that usually take, like based off feel? Because like I just did White Rim on Monday, which is like a completely polar opposite of Everesting, but it's it's got some climbing in it. But it just wears the body down. So like, what's that like? I mean, recovery wise.
Well, I think when kind of cycling, you're kind of really concentrating on cycling. You can recover pretty quickly. I've kind of done all the good recovery methods you see out there, but I guess it takes a mental toll on you. I would not say I'm ready mentally to go out do another Everest, but legs are feeling pretty good now, I guess. It's 4 days or so after.
Well, cool. So before we start diving in too deep into the Everest, let's kind of chat a bit about you, where it all started and kind of like, because I see you're a coach. You've raced for some bigger teams, pretty much on the amateur level, but like right at that cusp. Like, I mean, I think there's this fine line in US racing where when you're domestic elite, like some of those teams to me are just as much pro as some of these pro teams. It's just that it's like you're the homeless version of pro.
Yeah,
like you're scrounging for money. So give me a little bit of a background of you and kind of where it all started, man.
Yeah. So, I guess athletically, I kind of started out in the running background in high school, ran competitively. And then, I went to school at Virginia Tech. Wasn't quite fast enough for the track team or cross country team there. So kind of got into triathlons there. So I guess that's my intro into the biking world. And then kind of the natural transition into pure bike racing throughout college. Collegiate program at Virginia Tech was super cool. It was a good group of guys and some of the most fun I've had racing there. I think graduating in 2016 and kind of living the domestic elite cycling life since then, kind of like what you mentioned, the homeless life.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So like, is there like any goals for you? Like, do you have a goal? Like, obviously like we all want to be pro, but like, is there kind of a goal for you on that or still?
I don't know. I kind of enjoy the lifestyle of just like traveling, seeing cool places. Wouldn't necessarily, say I want to end at some certain team or if I'm, pro or whatever. I think I really enjoy the process of everything. So, yeah.
Right on. No, that makes sense. And so Everesting. So we've been seeing, like, due to this pandemic, it's almost spiked this urge for people to just go out and climb. I still haven't gotten that bug or catch that dream to go climb up the same exact climb anywhere from 29, 30, 40 times. Because it seems like the climbs are getting shorter. Like the guys are trying to pick shorter and steeper. And, but yeah, where did that come up for you where you're just like, you know what? Like, I think I could do this.
So, as a racer, I think my talents have always strung towards the longer, hillier, harder road races. So, it's, I guess, kind of what an Everesting is. It's a long, hilly time trial. So, yeah, I think with this summer, there obviously hasn't been much racing besides Zwift racing, which I'm not too great at. So I think, I kind of just been tootling around doing some base miles this summer and saw some people have been getting records. Contador, Gaimon put up a few times. So a few of my teammates did this.
I love how you say
summer.
that super nonchalant. You're just like, yeah, Contador, Gaimon, Lachlan Morton. Yeah, it's no big deal. I'd just give it a shot.
There's other cyclists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just kind of saw it in the medias and, thought it might be kind of fun, type 2 fun, I guess. So I gave it a go about a month ago or so for my first time. And I had no idea what to expect. I've never done an uphill 7-hour time trial. So really didn't know what to expect going into it, but Yeah, I guess that was kind of the motivation. Just saw it's been gaining popularity and no other outlets to my competitiveness.
For sure, yeah. So how do you even like decide to train for that though? Like, I mean, obviously the last thing you need to go do is, you know, because I mean, obviously we don't race. Like we'll do these races, 100-mile races that are under 4 hours, but we're not out riding, smashing 100 miles
Yeah.
under 4 hours. So how are you training for an Everest, which is going to be under 7 hours and 29,000 feet of climbing?
Yeah. So, I mean, even like, for example, like the elite marathoners, they don't go out and do a marathon. So, yeah, I think really just been doing some long endurance rides, maybe a little tempo here and there. I live not in a mountainous area, Richmond, Virginia. So the longest climb I have here is like 30 or 45 seconds. So I really didn't do any climbing leading up to this, just more kind of those power zones that just building that endurance that I need.
Yeah, so and we saw that you rode your team's bike, which is the Cannondale Super 6 Evo. Did you
Mhm.
do any crazy dorky custom mods to make it lighter, faster, anything crazy?
No. So, yeah, I guess this has gained popularity, but yeah, I took off the back bottle cage, but that's the
Oh.
extent. Saved about whatever that is, 20
Yeah,
grams or so.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do any dorking, mostly because I didn't necessarily have the resources to chop off my handlebars or buy a new whatever, like single speed chainring or stuff like that. So yeah, I used the stock race bike that we have, which, I mean, to be honest, is a really nice race bike. So
For sure.
it's like 17 or 18 pounds or so. But yeah, definitely the previous record holder. I don't know how heavy his bike was, but yeah, he went full on. Took off some cassette rings and took off his chain rings, cut off his handlebars. Yeah, I think to a certain extent, power kind of outweighs the watt per kilo there.
Yeah, so what was your power and what was your weight, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so weight wise, I think I don't have a scale at home, but I'm somewhere between 140, 145 or so.
Okay.
Power wise, I was doing about, I tried to target 310 for pretty much the whole time. So the first time I ever stood, I started out 320, 330, and then really faded towards the end. So this time I went out at 310 and I pretty much held that every time up the climb until like the last two laps where I started cracking. But at that point I could kind of see the finish line. So yeah, 310 is kind of upper tempo for me.
Wow. So how long was the actual lap itself?
It was about a 7-minute climb and then a minute descent. So 8-minute laps.
Wow. Yeah, that's insane to think about. So now that you've done this, like you're getting all this press. I mean, Bicycling Magazine's picked it up. Velo News, Phil Gaimon has picked it up. Has anybody else reached out to you, like trying to get you to talk more about it? Obviously, besides me, or is it kind of one of those things that you feel like it's only a matter away before somebody else is like, oh, I'm doing it this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of how it goes with this Everest. It's kind of exponentially started getting more popular. Yeah, I've definitely received quite a bit of social media presence here, more than normal, definitely.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I feel like before I did this, my immediate friend group knew I was going to do this, but no one knew that I was going to do it that weekend. So, who knows? Someone else could do it next weekend and put up a pretty good time. So, I
well, for
think,
sure. I feel like the guy that had it before you was kind of like that. Like
yeah,
nobody really
exactly.
knew the guy. She kind of went out
Everyone's
and
looking at Phil
smashed it.
Gaimon, but I
Yeah,
feel like there might be another person out there.
which is rough for Phil because I feel like even when he's like in the meaty, like in the process of posting like where he's going to do it, and even if he did it, like there's somebody else doing it while he's filming him doing it.
Yeah,
And I just think
he's
it's pretty nuts.
he's got his whole fan club like working for him there. They're finding climbs for him and the perfect gradient and all that stuff.
Yeah, man, it'd actually kind of be a bummer if he doesn't do it then at that point. So let's say let's say here in a month or so it gets taken. Would you go out again and do it?
Honestly, I probably would.
Yeah, just give it a
I'm
crack.
definitely not going to steal it from myself. I'm not going to try and improve my time right now, but yeah, I mean,
No need, just sit on it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the kind of, I enjoy, like I do, long training rides similar to this. So yeah, I enjoy climbing and riding my bike. So, it's definitely a type 2 fun, but I can see myself going for it again.
Right on. So let's dive into a little bit about, let's say 2020, or 2021 comes back to normal. Like everything comes back to normal, life goes back to normal. What do you see yourself doing in 2020? I mean, like there's not, in America, there's not very many races where you're going up climbs. Like you got Redlands, you have Gila, but yeah, what are your kind of goals? What are your kind of targets leading into 2021?
Yeah. So yeah, Redlands and Gila have really been the only races I've ever done well in. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I think, hopefully 2021 kind of gets back to normal, but I don't think we can necessarily make any hard plans for bike racing or anything out of bike racing. So yeah, I think I'm kind of wanted to just go with the flow, see what happens. Still always riding my bike. Yeah, I don't know. I guess no real hard plans at this moment, but yeah.
for sure. Yeah. And so you're also a coach, I see. And so, tell us a little bit about like kind of your coaching business. I'd love to hear a little bit about that and kind of where that started. How's that doing in the current pandemic, and how are you kind of keeping athletes motivated?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it really started as more of I guess a side hustle just to make a little extra. And, I think my previous coach, and I think always in the sport of cycling, I've always kind of been interested in, the physiological and kind of like different workouts and how your body responds to it. So I've always kind of been interested in that side of the sport, how training works, I guess. So, yeah, I think it was kind of a natural lead into it. And I wouldn't consider it a business at all. It's
For
still
sure.
more of a side hustle, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's doing well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like if anybody wanted to reach out to you, they just hit you up on Facebook, hit you up on Instagram, and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
If anybody
Slide
wants
in the
to
DMs.
slide in the DMs, if they want to beat your Everest record, they just slide into your DMs. So
Yeah, exactly.
I get that. So, so yeah, man, we do a few segments here on the podcast, just of quick fun segments, and one segment that I kind of want to dive into is kind of you get one opportunity to have coffee with anyone, dead or alive, and how would you take your coffee, and who would that person be, and what would you want to talk to them about? Does that make sense? So like for me, like as of today, I would love to have coffee with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I'd probably want to talk to him about like why he ended up on the Austin 316, like where that crossover comes in to into wrestling. And I'd probably have a pumpkin spice latte, because I think it'd just be kind of ironic for the time that we're in. I just think it'd be funny. And so Justin Williams was I think he wanted Kobe Bryant, and he just likes a good black coffee, or no, vanilla bean something or another. So what would yours be? Who would it be? And what would you chat to him about?
Yeah, so I think my person would probably be Derek Jeter.
Okay.
I was, I think, a Yankee fanboy when I was a kid, and he was kind of the Tom Brady of baseball at that point. So
right on.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily specifics what we would talk about. Hopefully, maybe a little about baseball, maybe a little about personal life. I don't know.
Yeah.
And well, so I'm actually not even much of a coffee drinker.
That's okay. It can be any drink for that matter.
I would probably go with a nice cup of green tea.
Green tea.
Yeah.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Okay, because I'm a cold green tea kind of guy, but I would assume that's not like real tea.
I am touching in the South here, so we get a little nice iced tea action. But
yeah, see, I'm from South Carolina, so that's probably why
nice.
I'm into that kind of beverage. So yeah, man. And so to kind of just like finish it up, wrap it up, for the most part, like what if like, cause it sounds like you started in college, right?
Yeah.
And so what's your feedback for somebody just kind of interested in it, interested in dabbling into it? Cause I know for me, I was pretty good at sports. And it kind of came naturally, like, cause I was a big dude. So football was really easy. I just stood there, made sure nobody got behind me. Right. And just stand in front of someone. But cycling is a very complicated sport, and 9 times out of 10, you're losing. Like, it's not very often that you have a winning record. And so like, what's your kind of feedback on kind of telling somebody like, hey, like, this is a way to get into cycling, be patient kind of thing?
Yeah. So I think it's definitely a hard sport to get into. It's a pretty big barrier to get a bike, I guess, a nice bike. But you don't even need a bike for most of collegiate cycling. I was riding on a like $800 aluminum frame. So yeah, I would say that collegiate cycling is a cool way to get into the sport. It's super chill. I think most colleges at least have a small program. So yeah, I guess for the collegiate riders, I would say kind of check that out. But to everyone else, like really just don't take it super seriously. I think still to this day, I think you got to kind of go with the flow. The sport of cycling is kind of weird, and especially in 2020, I guess, all these races are getting canceled. Yeah, like every day I see like up and coming guys kind of doing all these structured workouts, intervals, like counting calories, just super regimented. And, I see like a few years down the line, they kind of burn out and aren't as passionate about the sport. But yeah, I think, if you enjoy what you're doing day in, day out, and you can make it fit in your lifestyle, I think it's a good method to kind of really enjoy the sport.
Yeah, man. And I think that's where I've like become like thoroughly impressed with you. Like, we haven't overcomplicated a thing. Like when it came to Everesting, it was like, yeah, I rode my stock bike, stock components, like, and it was that. And, like, I don't really know my weight that morning of. And I think, like, did you dive into your nutrition plan though pretty seriously for that? Like, was it pretty regimented in that sense?
Yeah. So I did an Everest attempt, probably it was like 2.5 weeks before this record attempt I did. And yeah, I think you had mentioned I did it like a 30-minute faster time. The only things I changed were my nutrition and my pacing. So I guess we kind of already touched on pacing. I kind of just stayed steady the
Yeah.
whole time. But nutrition wise, the first time I really wasn't so great. Most normal training rides I'll do, I'll just eat like peanut butter jelly, Pop Tarts, gummy bears, kind of just real food type stuff. But, I used that for Everesting and just wasn't working. It was kind of too hard of an effort to really eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
So yeah, the second time around, I used some drink mix. Scratch Labs makes like a new like 400 calorie per bottle mix. So that really helped. Yeah, I kind of try to do real food towards the beginning, a few Pop Tarts. But yeah, kind of transitioned to gels towards the end.
Around what time do you think you transitioned?
Um,
If you even remember.
yeah, I guess it was all kind of a blur, but yeah, I would say like halfway or so I
Halfway.
started.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm just like thinking like all that sugar on the
Yeah.
stomach would just be game over.
Yeah, I
To
mean,
handle that.
everyone always thinks like after a big ride like that, you got to be starving and you got to be so tired. But yeah, my stomach is wrecked after drinking so much sugar and
For
eating so
sure.
much sugar that yeah, even like that night and the morning after, you're not really that hungry for anything.
What was your and so yeah, so last question. What was your post ride meal? Like there had to be something when you hit that last lap and you were just like, I'm hungry, I'm tired, my hands are numb, my body's numb, but I will have X at the end of this ride. What was
Well, it was definitely not going to be sweet. I could tell you that. I had
it?
had so much sweet stuff that day.
Yeah.
We ended up I got Indian takeout, a nice tikka masala, chicken tikka masala.
Yeah. Even with
Yeah,
the even with a little bit of southern twang on that and the tikka masala,
chicken
yeah.
tikka masala.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. And guys, if you haven't seen already, this is your new Everest world record holder. But if this podcast comes out a week late, then that'll be interesting. And maybe we'll have a new Everest world record holder, because it just seems like this record is getting faster and faster and faster.
For sure.
And so please check out Sean Gardner's social media and Instagram down in the link below. Other than that, guys, thanks so much.